Travel alert, using the path, you travel east, taking 15 minutes to arrive. A small cave rises out of the swamp here, undefended and easily entered. Warily entering the cave, you come across what appears to be a crude laboratory, a hodgepodge of ill-fitting glassware, utensils, and other smaller objects needed to experiment with and perhaps fabricate. There are also a few pieces of furniture here, including an old, wobbly table, some chairs and even a desk, all of which are in poor condition. A wizard or cleric must work here, Redfern begins, looking around. From the poor quality of the equipment, I would say whoever created this place had to rummage for everything. Probably from all the junk teleported here by the women in EAA, Sainadir suggests, reminding you of that initial cave you were dropped into. As you look around, let's do an intelligence check on your hero to see if you can deduce anything more. Needing a 13 or less from Janet, a 11 was rolled. Success, yes, you're pretty sure it's not just a magic user who experiments here, but it's likely Lowdiz himself. You must be very close to finding him. Spending another 20 minutes or so looking around, Redfern seems quite interested in everything lying about, to the point where it seems like he knows something the rest of you do not. Indeed, you halt your own investigation and simply watch Redfern do his work, carefully inspecting the glassware, rummaging through the pieces of furniture and even tasting a few reagents lying about. Let's do a curiosity check on Redfern and see where this is going. Needing a 15 or less from Redfern, a 17 was rolled. Failure, sorry, but I just can't tell what all this is for, Redfern laments, taking a chair. Somebody is doing something here, but I can't tell what. The shoddy laboratory here fully searched, there is little more to find here. Tunnels lead deeper into the cave to the east, south and southeast, while the cave exit will take you back to the evil shrine to the west. Barthol has a 50% chance of picking the lock and rolls a 33 on percentile dice. Success. The desk is unlocked and now easily opened. Kartha casts find traps throughout the entire local area, but no traps are found. Your find trap spell detects a lightning bolt trap on the cloth sack here. Travel alert, using the tunnel, you travel east, taking 5 minutes to arrive. Following a twisty cavern within the cave, you arrive within a small, featureless chamber. Several wooden shelves have been fastened against the far eastern wall, a few feet off the floor and containing several large cloth sacks. To your surprise, one of the bags has been ripped open, and what appear to be dozens of small crystals or gems can be seen within, a bunch more scattered atop the shelf and even the ground below. Naturally, a closer look will be needed to determine the potential value of all these gems here. Entering the small chamber and beginning a search, Kartha warns you of something. Careful, it looks like the cloth sacks are trapped. The trap on the sacks here detected, you should have your party try to disarm it. Adjacent to the shelves in the northeast corner are a small collection of boxes and other containers, including what appears to be a silver coffer. Separate tunnels leading south and southwest are here, while the tunnel that brought you to this chamber can be taken back west if desired. Searching the silver coffer, you find what appears to be another small piece of parchment within. It reads, "Friends, don't touch the sacks, they're trapped. Lowdiz." Barthol has a 45% chance of disarming traps and rolls a 64 on percentile dice. Failure, the lightning bolt trap here on the cloth sack remains a threat to the party. Marioleth has a 35% chance of disarming traps and rolls a 21 on percentile dice. Success. The lightning bolt trap on the cloth sack is disarmed and will no longer threaten the party. Examining the 3 large cloth sacks here, you find hundreds of small gems. Most of the jewels are simple quartz, worth perhaps 10 gold apiece. Scattered with the quartz are a variety of other stones, however, fluorspars that are different colors, purple, green, and yellow, and worth 25 gold apiece. If you want to collect all these gems, they would constitute a fairly nice treasure. Interesting. Redfern comments, having grabbed one of the jewels to better examine it. I believe there is a slight magic placed on these. Let's have Redfern try an intelligence check to see if he can determine more about the gems. Needing a 16 or less from Redfern, a 4 was rolled. Success. I believe these gems act as a sort of seed to enlarge a creature, Redfern continues. Lowdiz must have magicked these gems to help create all the enlarged monsters we've encountered here in the swamp. Would they hurt us in any way if we took them? Ariana asks, concerned for the party. I don't think so, Redfern responds. I don't think the magic is offensive, or even capable of hurting anyone. That does not mean they're ours to take, Sainairs reminds the party, taking the high road. Whether to take the gems is up to you, of course. The gem-laden chamber now searched and resolved, exits lead to the south and southwest as well as back to the west. A quick search finds that the sacks have 192 quartz and 72 fluorspars. Redfern nods and takes everything from within the immediate area. Travel alert, using the tunnel, you travel south, taking 5 minutes to arrive. Tucked away here in the far southeastern corner of the cave is another tiny cavern that has been converted into a simple bedchamber. Like most everything else you've discovered within the cave, the furniture here is all worn and broken down, as if it had been heavily used in the past, discarded and then brought here. Still, the room is neat and tidy, its owner taking pride in how the chamber is presented. In addition to everything else within the tiny cavern, you spot a now familiar silver coffer in the far southeastern corner of the area. Inspecting the silver coffer, you find another note tucked deep within. The parchment reads, "Friends, your time to choose a side draws near. I am not your enemy, but I must behave as such to fool the Chambliers who now control me. Save this old fool from his own magic, you're my only chance. Lowdiz." By thunder! Redfern exclaims, quite surprised. Has Lowdiz lost control? This changes everything. What do you think, Janet? Choose an option. Altruism, maybe he needs rescuing. Empathy, sounds like he's in trouble. Reason, this could be a trick. GM note, your quest log has been updated. Click the quests button for all the details. Despite all the evidence we've found to the contrary, perhaps Lowdiz is in trouble, Ariana acknowledges, agreeing with you. Hopefully we're not too late when we find him. By thunder, look at this. Redfern calls out, surprising all of you. Turning in his direction, you see that the magic user has revealed a small crystal ball sitting atop a table here, previously covered by a thick, woolly blanket. The glassy sphere is about 8 inches in diameter and glowing softly from within. Be careful with that, warns Eswin, untrusting of anything that may be magical. Redfern acknowledges Eswin's warning but sits down beside the table anyway to study the glassy sphere. Your party searches for traps but don't find any. Redfern then closes his eyes and slowly waves his hands around the ball, attempting to invoke any magic it may have. Moments later, the ball begins to fill with a glowing, silvery material. It appears Redfern is indeed activating the object. The magic user continues to concentrate as the party draws closer, watching the swirling material within the crystal ball transform into some sort of image. These are someone's memories, I believe, Redfern whispers. Within the ball, you see an image of a young woman staring back at all of you as if you were the object of her affections. The image begins to move, and you observe a short montage of romantic settings, the woman smiling, laughing, and clearly in love with someone. The background scenery then changes to a beautiful white rose garden, the woman accepting what appears to be a wedding ring from her presumed lover. Let's do a curiosity check on your hero to see if you notice anything more. Needing a 15 or less from Janet, a 8 was rolled. Success, yes, given the looks of the woman and the white roses in the background, it seems you're viewing some magical memories of Queen Delpanna from long ago, back when she was in her early 20s. Delpanna not only looks beautiful but very happy. Moments later, the crystal ball starts to go dark, the scenery within continues, but now the young woman appears troubled, upset, and eventually very angry. Soon it's clear that the woman has fallen out of love, leaving one last look of utter heartbreak and hatred before turning away. The glassy orb then goes dark, leaving you wondering about what you've just seen. Those were memories. Kartha is the first to speak, the montage very moving. Likely belonging to Lowdiz. He was once in love, then lost it all, Sainadir suggests, moved by what you've all just witnessed as well. Was that Queen Delpanna? Ariana asks, bewildered. I think it was, some 50 years ago, Kartha answers. It appears she's not only connected to Lowdiz, but they were once lovers. The revelation stunning. It takes a few extra moments for you and your heroes to recognize that Redfern remains in deep concentration with the crystal ball. Indeed, he is now beginning to shiver and his face is showing signs of discomfort, as if the ball is hurting him. About to tear him away from the glassy orb, you then watch as the crystal ball lights from within again, the silvery substance quickly turning red as if the interior of the ball were on fire. Faint, indistinct images begin to appear, making you extremely curious. However, Redfern now appears to be in very real pain. What do you do? Choose an option: curiosity, stand by and see what happens; empathy, pull Redfern away from the orb; optimism, trust that all will be well. The optimism score for Janet remains the same, while concerned for Redfern, of course, you trust that he will be okay from the experience and instead turn to watch the images appearing within the crystal ball. The fire within the glassy sphere now roars fiercely, and every few moments you see the sliver of a darkened face screaming in agony. While the imagery is confusing and hard to watch, you sense that whoever you're looking at, he or she has been chained to something and is burning in utter torment. Suddenly, the images change to a small group of humanoids attacking the person within the crystal ball, their weapons and magic too much for the tormented soul. You spot what looks like the onyx seal in the background, just before it was destroyed by Sandaria's crystal monster. The revelations seen within the crystal ball are staggering, so let's do a party intelligence check to see what you make of all this. Needing a 14 or less from your heroes, a 18 was rolled. Failure. While you can't be sure, of course, the scenery within the crystal ball sure seems to depict your final battle with Sandaria just before the onyx seal was destroyed. The scenery within the ball then focuses on the breaking of the onyx seal, your party ravaged by the energy as the seal begins to disintegrate. Moments later, Redfern begins to speak, his voice sounding feminine and eerily familiar. Burn, watch it burn, to watch it all burn. I want to watch it all burn. The face of Sandaria suddenly appears within the crystal ball, scaring you half to death. As Redfern continues to chant, he also begins to smile as if he were actually enjoying the experience, the magic perhaps corrupting his very soul. Seeing this, Kartha throws herself forward and into Redfern, sending both he and the crystal ball flying forward toward the bed of Lowdiz. Both Sainadirs and Eswin help Kartha back to her feet. But all eyes are on Redfern, the magic user now lying unconscious on the floor. Alongside him, the crystal ball finally rolls to a halt, badly damaged when it hit the floor. It is now cold and lifeless, and likely will never work again. What was all that about? Eswin demands, both appalled and disgusted by what you've just witnessed. The magic of the crystal ball didn't just show us the memories of Lowdiz, but Redfern's as well, Saint answers, aghast. How would he know the final thoughts of Sandaria? Oh, dear, Kartha exclaims, the horrible truth descending on her. After we defeated her, Sandaria transferred her very soul into the magical statue. I don't think she stopped there. All eyes turned to Redfern, still lying on the floor and out cold. That would explain how we were able to teleport back to Kathleen, Ariana mumbles, realizing the truth as well. Dear Sisla, Saint gasps, utterly horrified. Sandaria invaded Redfern as well, she's in there with him. Is that even possible? Eswin asks, not as sure as everyone else in your party. Sandaria was a truistic, a mage of the inner circle, Kartha responds, convinced. It's more than possible, it's the only explanation. What do we do? Ariana asks, as shocked as everyone else. The bigger question is, do we still trust him? Eswin answers, a logical perspective. If he indeed has the life force of Sandaria within him, is it just a matter of time before he betrays us and kills us all? Ouch, that's a really tough question. Your hero's looking for strong leadership, how do you respond? Choose an option. Charisma, I'm sure we will be okay. Intelligence, he hasn't hurt us yet. Wisdom, Redfern would never hurt us. We can trust Redfern, you suggest with authority, trying to be wise with your response. We'd already know by now if he was any type of threat. Well, just need to keep an eye on him. Not sure of what to think, your heroes slowly nod their heads in general agreement, trusting that all will eventually be well. Redfern begins to stir, his fall to the floor painful. Several of your heroes reach down and help the hapless wizard to a nearby chair, sitting him down as he shrugs off the grogginess. Wizard, how do you feel? Kartha asks, looking him over for any obvious signs of trauma. What happened? Redfern asks, a bit dazed. You took a nasty spill. Saint answers, looking Redfern over as well. What do you remember? Ariana asks. I remember, being in love. Redfern smiles, reliving the magical memories of Lowdiz. Then things got dark, turned to fire, a voice, a face, then, darkness. The wizard bows his head, signaling that's all he remembers. How do you respond to him? Choose an option. Those were the memories of Lowdiz. You activated some sort of curse, you tripped over the table and fell. Those were the memories of Lowdiz you saw, Kartha answers with compassion. He was in love, once. Are you okay? I think so, Redfern responds, still coming to his senses. Just give me a minute. He does not seem to remember anything about Sandaria, Kartha whispers into your ear. Best we keep it that way. In agreement, you give Redfern 10 minutes to catch his breath and recuperate, the fateful experience now behind you. The spirit of Sandaria lives on in Redfern. GM note, your quest log has been updated. Click the quests button for all the details, the shocking encounters here within the bedchamber of Lowdiz complete, it's time to move on. Small passages lead away to the north, northwest and west. Barthol has a 50% chance of picking the lock and rolls a 8 on percentile dice. Success. The chest is unlocked and now Barthol has a 50% chance of picking the lock and rolls a 75 on percentile dice. Failure, the desk remains locked and impassable to the party. Marioleth has a 40. Travel alert, using the tunnel, you travel west, taking 5 minutes to arrive, continuing through this cramped, cavernous passage, you step into a small chamber filled with all manner of containers, from simple boxes to a few larger chests. All the containers are in poor condition, beat up, stained and battered in some way, as if they had been thrown away and then recovered. Hence, you won't have any trouble opening any of these containers if you wish. Poking around throughout the small chamber here, it does not take long to recognize that the containers are filled with a variety of supplies, from food and fresh water to simple clothing to an assortment of everyday knickknacks someone on a deserted island may want. None of it looks helpful or appetizing, however, so there is not much here to actually take. In the far southwestern corner, you discover a newer trunk. It's lid down but unlocked. With a nod of approval from you, Eswin lifts the chest's lid and jumps back, half expecting something to leap out and attack. Inside, you find hundreds, perhaps thousands, of tiny glass vials, each containing a small greenish liquid. Peering at the glass vials, they remind you of when Darius and Rachel concocted all those potions to drug the populace of Tobin in their plot to assassinate Representative Margaret at the start of your adventures, which seem ages ago now. Let's do a party curiosity check to see if anyone notices anything here. Needing a 11 or less from your heroes, a 11 was rolled. Success. Those tiny potions look similar to what the bog crone was cooking up back to the west, Redfern comments, carefully observing the liquid inside. Whatever this stuff is, there seems to be a lot of it. What do we do? Ariana asks, glancing at all the tiny potions and then turning back to you. The dosage for these potions appears quite small, Redfern responds, holding one of the vials up to your source of light. One of us could try swallowing a potion and see what happens. It shouldn't harm us too much. That sounds like a terrible idea, but it's an option. What do you want to do? Choose an option, leave the tiny potions alone, take a sip from one of the potions. The curiosity score for Janet remains the same, maybe a little too curious. You nonetheless pull the tiny cork from the glass vial and consume the liquid, the greenish stuff quickly falling down the back of your throat. A few moments later, you start to feel a small amount of energy run through you, as if the potion held liquid caffeine. Just as importantly, there does not seem to be any negative effects. You don't appear to have poisoned yourself. Are you okay, Janet? Kartha asks. I feel a little stronger, you respond, still trying to determine whether the liquid has poisoned you in any way. I suspect these potions were all made for the large monsters we've encountered, Redfern suggests, placing the one he was holding back into the worn trunk. They won't work on us. That may explain why all the monsters seem so strong and vicious, Sainairs adds. Lowdiz must have created these potions to strengthen his entire army of swamp creatures. With little else to do here within the storage area, it's time to move on. Exits lead to the east and northeast as well as back to the north. A quick search finds that the unlocked small chests have 192 ammunition, 3 skeletal seeds and 107 silver pieces. Janet nods and takes the 3 skeletal seeds. A quick search finds that the barrels have 50 water skins. Travel alert. Using the tunnel, you travel north, taking 5 minutes to arrive, returning to the shoddy laboratory here after fully exploring the cave system of Lowdiz. Paths lead west, south, east and southeast. In addition, a segment of wall appears to have slid away along the northern wall, revealing an open doorway to the north. Funny, the exit wasn't there when you initially arrived, but it's there now. Travel alert, using the path, you travel north, taking 15 minutes to arrive. Approaching this large, open area from the south, you can see hundreds upon hundreds of large swamp monsters congregated here, assembled as if part of a large army. Indeed, standing atop a 20-foot rocky outcropping facing all the monsters is an elderly human, strong magic emanating from his outstretched hands. It looks like you've finally found Lowdiz. He appears to be controlling the assemblage of creatures, perhaps preparing them for an imminent attack upon EAA. It looks like you've reached the end game here. What would you like to try? Choose an option: attack Lowdiz and all the monsters, sneak closer and continue to watch, sneak past all the monsters and escape. The reason score for Janet remains the same. That sounds good, Eswin says, nodding in agreement. Let's try to get closer and see what's going on. Taking Eswin's advice, your party cautiously continues north, staying undercover and getting as close to the rocky outcropping containing Lowdiz as you dare. Now just 100 feet away from him or so, you can see that Lowdiz seems to have all the swamp monsters under his direct mental control. GM note: your quest log has been updated. Click the quests button for all the details. You've finally found Lowdiz. Let's end that quest and reward the party with some bonus experience. Each hero earns 625 experience points. As the menagerie of beasts step, fly and crawl around before the party, you spot 2 additional threats: a small group of shambling mounds that also seem to be controlling the monsters here, and a pair of young black dragons flying about, likely the children of the black dragon you met back in the cave to the northwest. Alright, Janet, what's the play here? Eswin asks, waiting for orders. Choose an option: climb to Lowdiz and capture him, hide and wait until it's safe, retreat back to the south. Now that we know what's happening here, a retreat isn't a bad idea, Sainairs comments, in agreement. We can regroup and come up with a plan. About to act, Ariana feels a mosquito biting her on the arm and slaps at it. Both Sainairs and Redfern feel similar bites and slap at them, and quickly your party is busily swatting at dozens of biting insects, surprising all of you. Your party is under attack. Facing the entire party is one insect swarm. It's Muriel's turn. What do you want her to do? Marioleth readies her longsword +1 and swings at insect swarm, needing a 13 to hit. Ariana readies her longsword +1 and swings at insect swarm, needing a 13 to hit. Die roll is a 3, +6 to hit. Ariana misses. Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at insect swarm, needing a 13 to hit. It's Janet's turn. What do you want her to do? Janet readies her mace +2 and swings at insect swarm, needing a 13 to hit. Sainairs readies his mace +1 and swings at insect swarm, needing a 13 to hit. Cartha readies her mace +1 and swings at insect swarm. Barthol readies his short sword +1 and swings at insect swarm, needing a 13 to hit. Die roll. GM note: a new combat round has begun. Initiative is rolled, with Ariana readies her longsword +1 and swings at insect swarm. Janet readies her mace +2 and swings at insect swarm. Sainairs readies his mace +1 and swings at insect swarm. Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at insect swarm. Marioleth readies her longsword +1 and swings at insect swarm. Redfern readies his quarterstaff +1 and swings at insect swarm. Barthol readies his short sword +1 and swings at insect swarm. Cartha readies her mace +1 and swings at insect swarm, needing a 13 to hit. GM note: a new combat round has begun. Janet readies her mace +2 and swings at insect swarm, needing a Barthol readies his short sword +1 and swings at insect swarm. Marioleth readies her longsword +1 and swings at insect swarm. Ariana readies her longsword +1 and swings at insect swarm. Sainairs readies his mace +1 and swings at insect swarm. It's Eswin's turn. What do you want him to do? Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at insect swarm. Cartha readies her mace +1 and swings at insect swarm. GM note: a new combat round has begun. Ariana readies her longsword +1 and swings at insect swarm, needing. Janet readies her mace +2 and swings at insect swarm, needing a 13 to hit. Die roll is a 16, +6 to hit. Janet hits insect swarm, doing 1 point of damage. Insect swarm suffers minimal damage versus all weapons and defeating it. Well done. All combatants have been defeated, ending the battle. Each hero receives 35 experience points. Damning your bad luck, you drive the insect swarm away, hoping that you haven't revealed yourselves here to the nearby monster army. Yet that's exactly what's happened. You've exposed yourselves here, a wide variety of monsters leaping, crawling, and flying now in your direction. Turning to flee, the path back to the south has already closed as well. Your party is completely surrounded. Damn bugs. Eswin curses, the insect swarm you defeated having the last laugh it seems. It only takes a few frantic moments for the monster army to surround you. Expecting a painful and bloody end, your heroes draw into a small, defensive circle, back to back and weapons ready. Approaching to just a few dozen yards, the monsters halt their advance, still eager to rip the flesh from your bones but, for some reason, maintaining their distance. The old wizard Lowdiz then steps toward you from out of the monstrous army. Just as curious with you as you are with him, the bearded magic user reaches you and speaks, his voice tired and raspy. An adventuring party, how unexpected. I suppose you've come to stop me. What's your initial response? Choose an option. Charisma, maybe we can negotiate. Intelligence, no, we're here to find you. Wisdom, we're actually here to save you. Save me? Lowdiz asks, quite surprised. Save me from what? This entire army that I command? What are you really here for? Your daughter Voxar sent us, Cartha boldly replies, getting right to the point. She loves you and is worried for you. To your surprise, Lowdiz hangs his head and draws a deep breath, the thought of his daughter quite meaningful. I told her to stay out of this, the old wizard replies, almost with a whisper. This was always something I had to do, she needed to stay out of it. What are you doing here? Eswin asks, needing to understand. Are you really here to attack EAA? The sexist government here in Genland must fall. The wizard responds in sudden anger. It's not natural for women to control like this, to not let men into their lives, to break their hearts on a whim. I will finally put a stop to it. That sounds sexist, wizard, Cartha condemns. The sisters here in Genland may be different in thinking, but they're not hurting anyone and it's their choice to make. Who are you to take away what thousands of brave and resourceful women over centuries have built? You can't possibly understand. Lowdiz counters, taking a step in Cartha's direction. I lost the love of my life to this way of life. We were in love, deep, passionate, total love. And then she walked away, left me in my sorrow, to come to this place and reject me as the only man who ever truly loved her. I have hated this country for over 50 years now, it's time to destroy it. Instead of punishing all the women here, why can't you just talk to the one you still love and try to make amends? Cartha asks, perhaps naively. Focus on what's really important. Surprisingly, Lowdiz seems unable to respond, perhaps Cartha is more right than she realizes. Delpanna, my love, the magic user whispers, lost in his painful memories. Queen Delpanna was the bride you lost so long ago, wasn't she? The mutant asks with compassion, taking the hand of Lowdiz. And you mourn that loss, even decades later. Lowdiz bows his head even further, the truth obvious. Let's do an empathy check on your hero to see what you may be feeling here. Needing a 14 or less from Janet, a 20 was rolled. Failure. While you can't be sure, it does seem that Lowdiz still cares for Queen Delpanna, even though she broke his heart more than a half-century ago. If love and hate are two sides of the same coin, it seems to be on display here. The powerful wizard takes a deep breath, then steps forward as if to continue the conversation and further share his story with you. A moment later, Lowdiz suddenly grabs his head, as if someone had just driven a nail through it. Unsure of what to do, you notice that not only have all the swamp monsters moved closer but now several shambling mounds stand nearby, focused on Lowdiz. Then, the young black dragon circling above land nearby as well, quickly joining the circle of monsters surrounding you. Yes, I know. Lowdiz whispers to himself, the pain in his head immense. I know, you are my masters. I will obey. The magic user stands tall again, his eyes now glowing an evil red, almost as if he were suddenly possessed. Lowdiz then begins to mumble, the words difficult for him but soul-chilling nonetheless. All of you must now die. Surrounded by 3 shambling mounds, 2 young black dragons and an army of swamp creatures as well as a suddenly erratic Lowdiz, you have a fateful choice. Choose an option: attack Lowdiz before he casts a spell. Attack the shambling mounds instead. Surrender to the swamp creatures. Janet permanently increases her spirit score by 1 point. Those shambliers, they're controlling Lowdiz. You shout, pointing toward the 3 vegetative monsters just 25 feet or so away. Attack them. Without hesitation, the party lunges in their direction, leaving you alone with Lowdiz. The mighty wizard about to hit you with some furious spell, the glowing redness in his eyes suddenly disappears and he looks to you, confused. The shambling mounds, they're no longer controlling me. Then, to your surprise, several of the closer marshland creatures turn away from you as if being called elsewhere. Soon the entire army is moving away, heading east, and toward EAA. While that's good news, you still have several extremely powerful monsters to attend to. The Shambler generals, they're calling the main force away to begin their assault on EAA. Lowdiz recognizes, his concern obvious. I've run out of time. Lowdiz looks to you, then looks back at the Shamblers as your party engages them, the 2 young black dragons about to attack as well. You found all my notes. The wizard grins, impressed with you. When I enlarged the Shamblers, I accidentally enlarged their brains and they somehow took full mental control of me. But I am free now, I am forever in your debt. Lowdiz smiles, his fortune suddenly turned. Well done deciding to attack the Shamblers. Let's reward that with bonus experience. Each hero earns 500 experience points. Go help your friends. Lowdiz orders, turning to leave. I will take care of the dragons. Before you can respond, the wizard turns for the 2 black dragons, an incredible act of bravery it appears. Taking the magic user's advice, you then join your party against the shambling mounds, the vile creatures quite the enemies. Your party is under attack. About to attack your party are 3 Shamblers. It's Ariana's turn. What do you want her to do? Ariana readies her short bow and fires at Shambler number 2, needing a 20 to hit. Die roll is a 16, plus 6 to hit. Ariana hits Shambler number 2, doing 4 points of damage and leaving it with 54 hit points. It's Redfern's turn. What do you want him to do? Redfern uses a wand of phantasmal force on Shambler number 2, horrifying it for 2 points of damage for 5 minutes, needing a 13 or greater. Shambler number 2 rolls a 10 and fails versus spells. Shambler number 2 it's Janet's turn. What do you want her to do? Janet uses a skeletal seed on Shambler number 2, causing the monstrous hero to attack it for 5 points of damage for 10 minutes. It's Barthal's turn. What do you... Barthal uses an orb of alchemist fire on roughly half of all encountered combatants, blasting them in chemical fire. Shambler number 1 is burned for 20 points of damage, needing a 12 or greater. Shambler number 1 rolls a 7 and fails versus... It's Muriel F's turn. What do you want her to do? Needing a 35 or less on percentile dice, a 36 is rolled. Failure. Sainadius readies his mace +1 and swings at Chambleer number 2, needing a 20 to hit. Die roll is a 19, +3 to hit. Sainadius hits Chambleer number 2, doing Eswin uses a boots of speed on himself, allowing himself to act twice each round for 5 minutes. It's Kartha's turn. What do you want? Kartha readies her mace +1 and swings at Chambleer number 2, needing a 20 to hit. Die roll is a 17. GM note, a new combat round has begun. Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at Chambleer number 1, needing a 20 to hit. Die roll is a 18, +8 to hit. Eswin hits Chambleer number 1. Kartha readies her mace +1 and swings at Chambleer number 2, needing a 20 to hit. Needing a 35 or less on percentile dice, a 83 is rolled. Failure. Marioleth tries to blend into the shadows but is unsuccessful, remaining visible to all combatants. Chambleer number 2 attacks Ariana with its body slam, needing a 22 to hit. Die roll is a 7, +10 to hit. Chambleer number 2 misses Ariana. Chambleer number 2 again attacks Ariana with its body slam, needing a 22 to hit. Die roll is a 17, +10 to hit. Chambleer number 2 hits Ariana, engulfing her for a few minutes, needing a 9 or greater. Ariana rolls a 7 and fails versus paralysis or petrify. Chambleer number 2 further damages Ariana, slamming her for 12 points of damage and leaving Ariana with 17 hit points. It's Barthal's turn. What do you want him to do? Barthal uses an orb of alchemist fire on roughly half of all encountered combatants, blasting them in chemical fire. Chambleer number 1 avoids the attack altogether. Chambleer number 2 avoids the attack altogether. Chambleer number Janet readies her mace +2 and swings at Chambleer number 2, needing it. Sainadius readies his mace +1 and swings at Chambleer number 2, needing a 20. Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at Chambleer number 1. It's Redfern's turn. What do you want him to do? Redfern readies his quarterstaff +1 and swings at Chambleer number 2, needing a 20 to hit. Janet directs her summoned undead at Chambleer number 2, causing the monstrous hero to attack it for 1 point of damage and leaving it with 9 hit points. It's Redfern's phantasmal force's turn. What do you want it to do? GM note, a new combat round has begun. Initiative is rolled, with Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at Chambleer number 1, needing a 20 to hit. Die roll is a 2. Redfern uses a scroll of magic missile on Chambleer number 2, striking it with a magic missile for 9 points of damage. Chambleer number 2 has been defeated. It's Marioleth's turn. What do you want her to do? Needing a 35 or less on percentile dice, a 43 is rolled. Sainadius readies his mace +1 and swings at Chambleer number 1. Redfern directs his phantasmal force at Chambleer number 1, horrifying it for 3 points of damage and leave. Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at Chambleer number 1, needing a 20 to hit. Die roll is a 7, +8 to hit. Eswin misses Chambleer number 1. Chambleer number 3 attacks Barthal with its body slam, needing a 14 to hit. Die roll is a 9, +10 to hit. Chambleer number 3 hits Barthal, nearly engulfing him, needing a 7 or greater. Barthal rolls. It's Janet's turn. What do you want her to do? Janet casts Spiritual Hammer on Chambleer number 1, bashing it for 1 point of damage for 5 minutes. Kartha readies her mace +1 and swings at Chambleer number 1, needing a 20 to hit. Die roll. GM note, a new combat round has begun. Initiative is rolled, with higher values acting first. Janet directs her summoned undead at Chambleer number 1. Kartha readies her mace +1 and swings at Chambleer number 1, needing a 20 to hit. Die roll is a 17, +5 to hit. Kartha hits Chambleer. Redfern readies his quarterstaff +1 and swings at Chambleer number 1, needing a 20. Marioleth binds the wounds of Barthol, returning his hit points to 0. Janet directs her summoned undead at Chambleer number 1, causing the monstrous hero to attack it for 8 points of damage and defeating it. It's Janet's turn. What do you want her to do? Janet readies her mace +2 and swings at Chambleer number 3, needing a 20 to hit. Die roll is a 17, +6 to hit. It's Seniers' turn. What do you want him to do? Seniers readies his mace +1 and swings at Chambleer number. Janet directs her spiritual hammer at Chambleer number 3, bashing it for 4 points of damage and leap. GM note, a new combat round has begun. Initiative is rolled, with higher values acting first. Redfern directs his phantasmal force at Chambleer number 3, horrifying it for 2 points of damage and leap. Marioleth readies her longsword +1 and swings at Chambleer number 3. Cartha readies her mace +1 and swings at Chambleer. Janet directs her summoned undead at Chambleer number 3, causing the monstrous. Seniers readies his mace +1 and swings at Chambleer number. Redfern readies his quarterstaff +1 and swings at Chambleer. Janet readies her mace +2 and swings at Chambleer number 3, needing. Ariana readies her longsword +1 and swings at Chambleer number 3. Janet directs her spiritual hammer at Chambleer number 3, bashing it for 5 points of damage. GM note, a new combat round has begun. Janet readies her mace +2 and swings at Chambleer number 3, needing a 20. Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at Chambleer number 3, needing a 20 to hit. Ariana readies her longsword +1 and swings at Chambleer number 3. Redfern readies his quarterstaff +1 and swings at Chambleer number 3, needing a 20 to hit. Die roll is a 20, which is an automatic hit. Redfern hits Chambleer number 3, doing 8 points of damage and defeating it. Well done. All combatants have been defeated, ending the battle. Each hero receives 562 experience points. The last of the shambling mounts drop to the ground and you breathe a big sigh of relief in having defeated them. Finally able to turn your attention back to Lowdiz, you're almost shocked to see both of the young black dragons kneeling before him, apparently in total submission. Joining the powerful magic user moments later, you listen to him in utter fascination. These two pups came to me a short time ago, willing to lead my monstrous army against EAA. They'll do anything I tell them and I've ordered them to stand down. You no longer want to overthrow the sisters of EAA? Cartha asks, surprised. The government of Genland does need removing, Lowdiz answers back, about to prepare a spell. But not like this. My plan was only to threaten Queen Delpanna, not annihilate the entire city. Take care of the dragons, I need to save Delpanna. The two black dragons continuing to respect the control of Lowdiz over them, you watch as the wizard casts a teleport spell and is instantly gone, leaving you alone with the dragons. GM note, your quest log has been updated. Click the quests button for all the details. A cool wind blows, the area now void of any threat save the two young black dragons. With Lowdiz now gone, they appear ready to revolt and perhaps even attack your party. Cartha then bravely approaches both, something clearly on her mind. The two of you. We spoke to your mother, up in the cave to the northwest. She misses you terribly. Please, go back to her, console her, and bring back the two most important things in her life. Go, be with your mother. The two dragons look to one another, then take to the air, circling a few times before flying north, presumably back to their cave. Well done. Each hero earns 312 experience points. Let me get this straight, Eswin asks, trying to understand what's just happened. This Lowdiz we've been seeking wants to overthrow the government here in Genland, all because he once loved Queen Delpanna, and even now wants her back. Maybe he still blames the way of life here for attracting her away from him, Cartha responds. But for the moment, that has to wait. We need to reach EAA and put a stop to this war. Your heroes in agreement, it's time to find a place to cross the river to the east and see what you can do to help the sisters in EAA. GM note, your quest log has been updated. Click the quests button for all the details. The large open area of the marshland quiet, a well-trodden path leads away to the northeast toward the river separating the swamp from the city of EAA. The path back to the cave of Lowdiz remains available to the south as well. GM note, your source of light has just gone out, travel alert, using the path, you travel north, taking 15 minutes to arrive, racing north to follow the marshland army that departed recently to lay siege to the all-female city of EAA, you reach the far corner of the swamp, a wide river separating the marshland to the west from the capital city to the east. In the distance, you can see the whole of the marshland army attacking the city, you need to swim across the river and engage them as quickly as possible. Quickly glancing about your party, your friends are wounded but they seem strong enough to brave the dangers that lie ahead. Hence, heal your party as best you can and then head east across the river. Can everyone swim? Ariana asks, scanning the riverbank here for the best place to cross. All the heroes in your party nod affirmatively, although it will be a bit of a struggle for those wearing armor. Accordingly, Ariana finds an old log nearby and retrieves it, giving everyone something to cling to as you cross. So, cross the river, then help the sisters of EAA as quickly as you can. Standing along the western edge of the marshy riverbank here, you can either swim across the river to the outer edge of EAA about 100 yards away or take the well-trodden trail back to the south. Additionally, there is a small trail here leading off to the west, should you wish to visit the Black Dragon's Cave again. Travel alert, using the path, you travel northwest, taking a half hour to arrive, returning to the Dragon's Cave here. It does not take long to recognize that the mighty Black Dragon, along with her two young twins you presume, have left the cave, likely never to return. Who knows if you will ever see her again. Glancing across the small lake in front of you, you also notice that the dragon's treasure hoard is gone as well. However, a small portion of that treasure has been moved and now rests just a few dozen yards to your right, an apparent reward and yours for the taking. GM note, it's dark here. Click the Use Item button to select a source of light. Resting outside the chest is a magical longsword +2 as well as 1,200 gold pieces, while the chest itself contains a wide variety of items. Click the Take Items button to review all the treasure you've just found. Gold. Each hero receives 150 gold pieces. The cave remains dark and empty, the Black Dragon and her two children gone. Your only option is to depart back to the south. Ariana nods and takes everything from within the immediate area. Janet casts Cure Light Wounds on Eswin, healing him for 10 hit points. Kartha casts Cure Light Wounds on Ariana, healing her for 11 hit points. Barthol uses a potion of light healing on himself, healing him for 7 hit points. GM note, it's dark here. Click the Use Item button to select a source of light. Travel alert, using the path, you travel southeast, taking a half hour to arrive, standing along the western edge of the marshy riverbank here. You can either swim across the river to the outer edge of EAA about 100 yards away or take the well-trodden trail back to the south. Additionally, there is a small trail here leading off to the west, should you wish to visit the Black Dragon's Cave again.